Hello folks, it is Friday and we are getting ready for the weekend. I hope you're having a good one and I hope life's treating you well. Welcome to Hobby Nightmares. If you like what I do, the subscribe button is down below. If you could use that button and please help me get to 15,000 subscribers by the end of the year. Guys, we are so close to getting there. We are not far away, we're about 200 subs away, so if you could help me do that, or share my videos to people who you think might get some kicks out of them, then please send them over there, and hopefully we can help the channel grow. If you are going to get any sort of models over the next few weeks, as we head over to the Christmas period, make sure you use the promo code northernexile down below, over at Composite Games, the link is down below. Not only do you get 5% off at checkout for using that code, but you help me out and you help out a wonderful local store to stay afloat and to keep going. So there we are. Let's get started, shall we? Landon says, "Hello, Mr. Exile. I write to you from the great Southland down under." Alright, Australia, cool. "If you want to use this email in a video, just refer to me as L." Well, guys, you can't. Not only do you say that I've like a few lines in, but I think like later on you sign off with your actual name. Do you know what I mean? There's not much I can do about that. I'm gonna have to read the rest, but like you know, again, few lines in, you say please refer to me as this. It's got to be right at the top of the email, right at the start. You've got to tell me what to call you. If you don't, and you're a few lines in, it's not going to happen. Especially if you sign off with your actual name. It's like, which you want me to use. Anyway, I would like to start with, I have been a listener for a while now, since the start of 2022. But I have never come across anything this bad in the hobby until now. Okay, I hope that's your hobby nightmare, not my channel you're talking about, but we'll see. I'm writing to you one day after what happened at a small Warhammer 40k tournament that I have been attending for the past year and a half at my local hot gaming store. I just haven't been able to stop thinking about this incident. For context, I am 19 years old and on the shorter side, around 5 foot 4 meters tall. And the subject of the story is in his mid to late 30s and would be around 6 feet 2. I will be calling this person Dave. Okay. Alright, cool. Dave is a regular at my local gaming store. He always attends the tournaments with 40k and also attends competitive events. He regularly drops $100 or so when he buys something, often encouraging others to be irresponsible with their money and buy massive boxes of Warhammer, even if they said they can't afford it. He is also very loud, with the tone of what I say is right, and if you disagree, you must be stupid. Okay. Alright. So the average 40k hobbyist then. No, I'm kidding. Honestly. Now, before the nightmare had happened, I had faced Dave twice before, and had seen him around the shop before. Looking back on it now, some red flags were there, such as telling me, "That's a bad unit," or "Why don't you own more Plague Burst crawlers? You are stupid to only have one," and "Is that all your army can do?" And even, "That's a really bad paint job on your guardsmen, at least the tanks look half decent." Dude, alright, fine, don't play him anymore. This whole hobby nightmare has come about because you played somebody twice when you shouldn't. Okay? As soon as they exhibit these behaviours, put them on the do not play list and move away. Okay, on to the nightmare itself. The day started fine. I was recovering from a cold and up early putting the finishing touches on a few models to ensure they were battle ready for the tournament. I was bringing the Death Guard after Games Workshop gave them snazzy new rules, making it feel more fun. My list was a more mobile force with cultists, bloat drones and plague marines and rhinos making up most of my list, with Typhus and Death Shroud foot slogging to the centre and a Plague Burst crawler holding the rear. I was excited at this tournament. It is how I get to socialise with others who have a passion for the hobby. My first game was against an Imperial Fist player, who was doing a guideline of bolter fire with heavy weapon support. His list had 20 heavy intercessors, hellblasters, infiltrators, devastators, some snipers and a predator. The game went by without too much of an issue. I was able to move my force up quicker than most Death Guard and took the mid-board. He stood firm and rained the Emperor's fury on the traitors, but he lost out on getting the objectives as he was incentivized to stay still to get his army benefits. This led to me running away with the score by boxing him into his deployment zone. I'm going to say, I've got a friend, in fact we're playing a game tomorrow, so hello Matt if you're there. This is how most of our games go. He's a very blocky, turtley, shoot from long rangey player. And if there are more than one objectives in the middle of the board, he really struggles. Obviously I've got my own objectives, and then I'm moving up to take them with the centre board. I'm scoring loads of objectives, you know what I mean? I'd say for skill, he outdoes me 9 times out of 10. But in terms of, getting objectives, if they're not secondaries, then, If you leave the impetus up to your opponent, you really are giving up a lot of points in Warhammer 40,000. The second game was a delight. It was a Death Guard mirror match. My opponent was one of the nicest players I have ever played against in one of these tournaments. He just had such a positive energy that it felt impossible not to smile throughout the game. He was bringing Typhus with Poxwalkers, 2 Plague Burst Crawlers, Plague Marines, Death Shroud Terminators, Blight Lord Terminators, and some Bloat Drones. The match was a very hard loss for me, as I just wasn't able to match his kill power. My Death Shroud block twiddled their thumbs in the middle as he picked off the rest of my army from the flanks, and even took my home objective with his Death Shroud. But my opponent was fun to play against, cheering when I rolled well, apologising when he was rolling well, and an all-round it was an outstanding game. Then we come to Game 3. The game started with both of us explaining our army rules. The first red flag was when Dave said since he was running Crusher Stampede, everything in his army was +1 to hit. And when I asked if he was sure that's how it worked, he replied with a curt yes, inviting no other comment. This would end up guaranteeing my defeat, as Crusher Stampede only allows monsters to get +1 to hit if they have taken damage. This was also compiled with him saying that me taking my -1 weapon skill and BS Plague would be an idiotic choice, as he would be +2 to hit with his heavy weapons. Okay. You could have just narrowed that down and just given me... Never mind. Anyway, this led to me choosing the worst Plague I could have. -1 objective control and leadership. The game started with me going first. I moved my force up the board, frying and blasting away his gaunts to stop his scoring capabilities. During the entire game, he would make comments about how embarrassing it was that I had to look and check my rules, commenting to anyone who would listen about how my turns were taking so much longer than his and that I didn't know all the weapon profiles from memory. This comes up in a later turn. Then he decided to overwatch my Death Shroud, laughing as he killed one of the 6. On his turn 1, he moved on to the mid-board with the Swarm Lord and Gaunts piling on to the other objectives. He charges my Terminators with killing them, but Typhus is alive. He ends with a, that's how a turn is done. Turn 2. Okay, if this gets much worse, man, this goes on forever, so if this goes much worse, I'm just going to skip it, okay? Turn 2. I take the centre and the 2 other no man's land objectives, killing off the rest of his Gaunts. He hits me with a, where is your Typhus model? I point to my converted Lord of Contagion. The first kit bash I ever did in 2019, being one of the first 30 models I ever painted. He laughed out loud and told me to buy an actual Typhus. I suppressed any comment. Why? Why? Why are you suppressing your own comments? Don't write to me. Do you know what I mean? That sounds so bloody harsh. But I'm sick of it, man. Like, literally, if someone's being this much of a tool, just tell them. You're being a fucking tool. And if you carry on, I'll just pack up my models. And you can have the win, but I'll tell everybody at this event how much of a fucking douche nozzle you are. Good lord, man. This is falling into the same trap as last week when I said to the guy, listen, it's kind of your fault. Don't victim blame in general in life, but sometimes it's kind of your fault. This is kind of your fault. You've not said to him once, dude, go fuck yourself and your attitude. Stand up for yourself. Literally. Anything bad that happens from here and you say nothing is your fault. Because he's being so obviously a douche. And people around him are obviously thinking he's already a douche. And they're probably thinking why you're not reacting. Anything that happens from here that he does wrong and you don't call him out is your fault, man. Sorry. Sorry. Backbone is needed here. I know you're 5'4". Dude, doesn't matter. You're at a tournament. What's he going to do? You're at a tournament. Just tell him. Listen, hey, you're acting like a fucking douche. Alright? And if you make one more comment about my playstyle, my army, or me, I'm going to pack up my models. I will go to the tournament organizer and anybody who will listen, and I'll tell them how much of a shit player you are. Alright? Okay, let's carry on. That's all you say. That took 5 seconds. 5 to 8 seconds of airtime. That's all you need to say to him. He will have nothing to say in return. And if he does say anything, pack up your models. If he does say, well, you're just a sore loser, pack up your models. And do exactly what you said you were going to do. Go straight to the tournament organizer, tell him the result of your game, that you concede, and tell him why you concede. And then go to the tables around where you were playing and saying, look guys, sorry for that bit of drama, blah blah, and explain the situation, and then move away. That's all you do. Call it out. Anyway, I suppressed any comment, why, and just moved on with my turn. I charged my Plague Marine squad into his Hive Tyrant, rolling up my attacks. This is where I made my first mistake rules-wise. I rolled for heavy plague weapons instead of bubonic weapons, causing me to roll 6 more dice than I should have. After he had rolled his saves, his Hive Tyrant was still standing with a decent amount of wounds. Then he said, you rolled too many attacks with that weapon. How many are you allowed to have? I said I would check, as I was wildly looking for the back of the data card on the internet, as I had only pointed out the weapons and stat lines for my units. All the while Dave was hitting me with, this is honestly embarrassing that you don't even know your own rules. And how can you not know your own rules? Oh. When I realised I had mistaken that I had equipped too many heavy plague weapons, he responded with, well, I get D6 wounds back, okay? Okay, yeah, he's just fucking... Dude, come on. Dude. This is one of the worst players to have. He just an absolute dickhead. Well, I get D6 wounds back, okay? Fuck off, dude. And before I could say anything, he had rolled a 5, and the Swarm Lord was almost on full wounds. At this point, it was taking all my willpower not to start crying then and there, let alone continue to play a game of Warhammer. Dude, come on. For the rest of the game, he just stomped my... Okay, I'm not even reading that bit. By the end of the game, he was ahead by 30 points. Okay. Moving on. This is what I think broke me. When he said, I decided to look up the Crusher Stampede rules, leading to the revelation that I had mentioned above Dave's response. Whoa, wait? For the rest of the game, he just stomped me with what remaining forces I had left, and I was mostly mentally checked out at this point. I did try to put up a fight, but my second Plague Marine squad was too far away to do much. Throughout the game, he was calling me out on rules mistakes, quote-unquote. When I said, no, that was how the rule worked, he would talk over me, telling me how wrong I was. A few times I called over another player who has a near encyclopedic knowledge of the rules, and each time they backed me up. By the end of the game, he was ahead by 30 points, giving me my second defeat of the day. I decided to look up the Crusher Stampede rules, leading to the revelation that I mentioned above, that he was basically cheating. Dave's response, a shrug of the shoulders and saying it wouldn't have changed much anyway. Yeah, of course it wouldn't, but when you got a rule wrong, that changed everything and he got all of his wounds back, yeah? Yeah, this is what happens. Listen, mate, I'm gonna call you by your name, because I think you've thrown enough anonymity here that the person won't know who it is. This is what you get this is what you get. Alright? That is what I think broke me. I just nodded and started walking to the toilet so I didn't start crying in the middle of the game store. Come on, dude. But before I could get to the toilet, another player who I had spoken to on my lunch break stopped me and asked how my game went, and asked if I was okay as I looked upset. I went on to explain all that had happened. During the conversation, my eyes started to well up and my voice was quivering. By the end of it, he said, "Well, that's not great behaviour. This is supposed to be a casual event." And I started wiping away my eyes. He said, "Hey, look, man, no judgment here, if you need some privacy." I thanked him for talking with me, and I went to the toilet and started to have a bit of a weep. Okay, right. Maybe I went a bit too hard on you, because I don't think tough love's really going to work for you, to be honest with you. I think you really need to build up some confidence. I did mean to get his contact info, but by the time I had composed myself, he had left the store. Since yesterday, I have tried to move on, but I just can't stop thinking about his comments. The way he laughed and him being a complete hypocrite. I hope writing this can help clear my mind. It has just killed off the passion I have felt towards the hobby. Anyway, thank you for reading my midnight rambles, Mr. North, and thank you for being a present point of reason in this hobby, helping some people through situations. Cheers, Landon. Okay, I'm going to call you your name, man. Because I think that's what you deserve. I think you know, this other guy, if he recognises you, yeah, fine. If you are listening, opponent, go fuck yourself. Go fuck yourself. You are one of the most toxic, arrogant, nasty pieces of shit I think I've read about in terms of a gaming person. Someone who games all the time. You are the worst kind of 40k player. You are the 40k player who kills the hobby for everybody else. You're a cancer. Fuck off. Get in the sea. Alright? Cool. Moving on. Mate, Landon, you need... Dude, you need to do something, man. I know you're 5'4". That is a short straw. Sorry, that's not a pun. I'm not being honest, right? That is a short straw that life's given you there, right? 5'4" is not great. But you know that's not great. You know, you're never going to intimidate anybody or be on that kind of a thing. All you can do is know who you are in yourself. That's literally it. That's all you can do is know who you are in yourself, mate, alright? That's it. If you know you're a decent player, if you all know you're a decent person, then right, use that as a stepping board to go on to the rest of your life, to go on what you want to do in terms of the hobby. Aside from that, you really do need to take my advice to heart here. Curate your hobby space. Make sure the people you are playing, you are having fun with. The minute you're not having fun, stop the game, concede, give him that little win that he wants so much, and let everybody know how much of a fucking douchebag this guy is. Okay? That's what you do. You do not just take it. You don't just go on with it and you don't walk away crying. I think honestly, man, martial arts would do a fucking huge deal for you. Anything like that, boxing, you know, taekwondo, anything like that, where you literally, you know, you go up against somebody your own size or even bigger and you learn how to take your licks. That would be amazing for you. Something like that. You need to do something that's going to get you out of your comfort zone. To start building your confidence. That's what you need to do. If you carry on this way, dude, you're going to develop a Napoleon complex. You know what that is? It's a little man, right, who's been downtrodden his whole life, and as soon as he gets any kind of power, he becomes the most unpleasant piece of shit you've ever seen in your life. That's what it is. And you don't want that. You need to take your licks honestly. Take this as a lesson learned. Never play this person again. And if he asks to play you, or is around you, and it's suggested that you play him, be honest. And say, listen, no, I don't want to play you. Why? Because you're not a very good player. Well, I beat you. That doesn't make you a very good player. That's all you have to say. You're not a very good player. Well, I beat you. Yeah, that doesn't make you a very good player. That's not what I meant. You're a terrible hobbyist, and I don't want to play you. That's all you say. You're a terrible hobbyist, and I don't want to play you. Okay? I wouldn't even define you as a hobbyist. You're somebody who's infiltrated this place that we all like. You're an asshole, and I don't want to play you. So, you know, like last time you cheated. You cheated last time, and accused me of cheating halfway through when you were the one who was cheating all the time. Mate, I'm in this place to have fun. You're not a fun person to be around, so no, I don't want to play you. Honesty is the best policy. When you start being honest with people, you stop being nervous. Do you know what I mean? About the things that you're saying to them. If you're just being honest, and you don't care what they think, you go, okay, well, you know, that's just your opinion, man. You know? But I know what I saw. I know what I played against. I played many games of Warhammer 40,000. Yours was the worst one I've ever played in, so why would I want to play again? You answer that. Right? We're all logical here. That's all you say, and you move on. You move on. The minute you let these people inside your brain, the minute you let them define your life and how you feel from that moment forwards, they win every single day. Every single day you think of them, these bullies, these assholes who ruin your day, every single day you walk away and you think, hey, oh my god, that was so horrible when that happened. Every single time you think that, they win. Every time. Every time you think that way, they win. So don't let them. And the next time it comes up, tell them honestly. No, I don't want to play you again. No. Why? Because you lost? No, because you're not a very good hobbyist. Well, I beat you. That's how the conversation's going to go. That's how this dickhead thinks. You can just tell. Say, no, I don't want to play you. Why not? You're not a very good hobbyist. Well, I beat you. Yeah, that doesn't make you a very good hobbyist. You know what I mean? That's not what I meant. You're a terrible hobbyist. In fact, I don't even think you are a hobbyist. You're just some guy who's infiltrated our space and is just a douche. That's what you are. And I don't want to play you. Out of all the games I've ever played of this game, yours is the worst one I've played. Why would I want to play you again? Because you cheated last time, dude. You cheated, and you had the gall to accuse me of cheating when I wasn't. I was honestly getting things wrong. You actually cheated throughout the game. If you want an example, tell him. Tell him. Say that crushing rule you did. Right, yeah. It wasn't worded that way, and it won you the battle. It swung you the battle. And you had the gall to stand there and crow and be arrogant about it. I don't want to play you. You're a terrible hobbyist. And you're not very good at the game. Somebody who's very good at the game doesn't need to stoop to cheating to beat somebody like me. Because I'm not a very good player. That's all you say. And you move on. P.S. If you can we have a conversation about the Lord of the Rings and what the Tolkien estate has been doing with the property? I vaguely remember you saying that they were parading it around like a common whore. That sounds like something I'd say. If you did not say this, please just ignore this section of the email. Thank you once again. No, I did say that. And I was right. Because they are. And... okay, how do you mean? I mean, I think, like, things like Rings of Power and all that sort of stuff, I kind of think the Tolkien estate has given up. You know? They give their blessing to things, like, oh yeah, this is what Tolkien would like, but then they let people like Amazon do what the fuck they want, as long as the money's right. So, you know, we will always have Lord of the Rings, the films, the original films, the original trilogy. We will always have the books, unless the left wing do some sort of horrible book burning, because it's not diverse enough. But we will always have the books, we will always have, you know, the Silmarillion, all that kind of stuff. We'll always have that, the Hobbit, all that stuff. So, yeah, we were lucky to get what we did with Lord of the Rings, and I think now people are starting to see that. People are starting to see how lucky we were to get the original trilogy. It was a miracle that got made, and it wouldn't have been made these days. And if it was made, it would be some sort of generic, low-budget CG piece of shite, even though it cost hundreds of millions of dollars to make. I.e., the Rings of Power, right? That's how it would look. So, just thank the Lord Jesus, thank whatever God you follow, that we got the original trilogy of Lord of the Rings. Because it was a miracle that thing got made. Absolute miracle. Right, Magnus says, you can call me Magnus. That's how you do it. See, Landon, that's how you do it, mate. Look, Magnus says, you can call me Magnus. The very first line of the email. Right? This one was even in the description of the email. Call me, you know, Magnus. You can call me Magnus. Thank you very much. And he leads with the name he wants to call me as well. He wants me to call him. He literally says, Magnus here, and then he says, you can call me Magnus. Put that right at the top of your email. Don't use your own name and then say, please call me something else. It's not going to work, man. You've got to, you know. Anyway, you can call me Magnus. I assume you did nothing wrong. I have a hobby nightmare that took well over 20 years to resolve. Okay. I've been in the hobby since 1995, starting with 40k 2nd edition, and I guess you can say I've had a history of being obsessed with all aspects of building, painting and playing Warhammer the Old World, and especially 40k. Being single back then, I didn't see anything wrong with putting all of my free time into a hobby and obsessing over it. Things didn't become an issue until I got married in 2000. I'll say this now as a disclaimer. I am not the hero of the story. I guess you can say I got married for all the wrong reasons. Mostly out of fear of being alone rather than for love. For several years I put the hobby ahead of my relationship and I obsessed over tournaments and scheduled game nights at my local store, never missing a game or event. Despite repeated requests from my wife, I refused to alter my gaming schedule that took several nights a week of my time off. As you could probably guess, it did a number on my already shaky marriage and caused several fights. Well, yeah. How not to be married, ladies and gentlemen. It's all about compromise. It's about compromise. I know not a lot of you want to hear that, because a lot of you like being based and things like that. But sorry, a relationship is about compromise. That's what it is. It's all about that. It's all about you both getting what you want. Or at least trying to get what you want. The real 4D chess move, right, is being so good in your relationship and being so good for your lady, right, that all the things you like, she wants to do. Do you know what I mean? That's 4D chess. So you get what you want and your wife's happy. That's what you do. If your wife plays Warhammer, you're already on the right track. Fast forward a few years and my wife would have a breakdown and was diagnosed as being bipolar. Here we go. The excuses start. I'm sorry guys, but like, there are some times when somebody acts in a really heinous way. I bet you she does something beyond the pale. I bet you she does something absolutely horrid. And we'll see. This caused me to put the hobby on the back burner as I needed to devote more time and more care to her. And because of her manic depression episodes, she needed almost around-the-clock monitoring. After a while, though, I had had enough. I knew I didn't love her like she wanted, and I knew I was beginning to resent her. So I told her I was ending things. My own mental health was beginning to suffer, and I was having my own mental issues. She ended up moving in with her parents as I continued to work tons of hours to pay for a house we couldn't afford and never-ending bills. One day, I returned home after a long double shift and found my house door open. Now, I am a police officer and I immediately thought the worst as I searched the house for any potential thieves or intruders. I first noticed that my Xbox and TV had their cords cut with a large pair of scissors, which I found on the floor and upon closer inspection saw scorch marks and melted copper on the blade, meaning the power was on when they were cut, probably giving the culprit a nasty shock in the process. I checked the rest of the house and found no one inside. When I checked my hobby room, I couldn't help but choke down a sob. Someone had taken a baseball bat to all my painted Warhammer models. All but 2 orc models were smashed beyond repair, as well as my display cases and terrain that I had made. I soon found out my newly separated wife, at the suggestion of her best friend, had come over whilst I was at work and destroyed all my stuff, which amounted to probably £1,000 or $1,000 in losses. The police could do nothing as she was still technically living in the house and it was considered community property. After the divorce, my ex and I would not speak again for almost 10 years. Since then, I remarried and had 3 children. I'm just going to say this. It's always the best friend, isn't it? Lads, always be very, very mindful of who your wife or long-term girlfriend hangs out with. Be very careful. If you see any toxic behaviour, any man-hating behaviour, any bitchy behaviour, any behaviour that starts to form a wedge between you and your missus, give them a fucking ultimatum. Get rid of that bitch, or leave. Or I leave. One of the two. Do it straight away, rip the band-aid off. Either you want this relationship to succeed, or you don't. Your friend over there doesn't want this relationship to succeed. So you tell me what you want to do. Do you want to continue hanging out with somebody who doesn't want to see this relationship succeed? Or do you want to stay with me? Those are two mutually exclusive options. They don't come together. So pick one. Until then, I'll see you later. Get the fuck out. Right? Be very straightforward. Very straightforward. Because each time I've seen this happen, it's come down on the man tenfold. Tenfold. They poison. There's nothing worse in this world than jealous bitches, than jealous women. There's nothing worse. There is nothing worse than a best friend of your wife who's jealous because she's married. It's awful. Some of the most heinous things I've seen or heard women do have been a result of their best friend being married and them being jealous of the fact. I'm telling you now, I'm telling you straight. Be very careful. Very, very careful. And the minute you see something you don't like, the minute you see something that is quite frankly not good, you need to have that conversation. And say, look, any friends of mine who want to go out and get laid, I won't cut them out of my life, but I'm going to stop going out with them because I don't want to do that anymore. I'm with you. I'm giving that part of my life up. I'm with you. Any one of my friends who don't like you for reasons because they're jealous, or are jealous of me being with you, so they make bitchy comments, I will jettison them from my life completely because I don't want that. I want this relationship to succeed. I want the same from you. We're a team. This is what this relationship is. Because it always ends up doing shit like this. Right? Obviously his wife's in a vulnerable place. I don't know whether she actually had bipolar stuff, or whether it was just an excuse to get him to look after her, and that drove him to leave, and then she really hits the deep end, right? I don't know. Wasn't there. I'm just reading the story. But I'm telling you now, this is where it ends up. When you've got a wife or a long-term girlfriend and their friends are bitches who don't like them getting success in life, this is where it ends up. In something painful happening. They cut up your clothes, they set fire to your place, they smash up all your shit, they cheat on you, they do all... this is where it comes from. 9 times out of 10. And honestly, this is where it comes from. When they get together, bad things happen. When toxic women get a hold of your woman, bad things happen. Doesn't matter who she is. Eventually, she's going to start listening to their bullshit. Get them out. Or leave. Either way, problem solved. My current wife soon saw me repeating all of my own bad habits. Of obsessing over the hobby. Often abandoning family plans and my free time to play at my local hobby store. Dude, mate, I need to say this. If you haven't already sorted this... I don't know what the rest of this is going to say. If you haven't already sorted out that problem, you need to get it... you need to put your big boy pants on and stop being such a fucking nerd. Everybody in the story is getting it. I don't know why, but like everyone's annoying me in this story. The hobby's there to accentuate your life, not define it. Stop being such a fucking neckbeard. Look after your family. It's one thing tanking a relationship, but if you've got 3 kids and you're not doing shit with them because you want to go play with toy soldiers, fucking be ashamed of yourself. That's where you should be. Ashamed of yourself. The hobby is there to accentuate things, to flavour your life. For you to give it to your kids and go, look at this really cool thing. It's not there to take you away from your kids. That's pathetic shit right there, man. I'm sorry. Sorry. These aren't drugs. This isn't gambling, and it's not alcohol. It's a fucking game of toy soldiers. Alright? Moving on. Unlike my ex, my new spouse wasn't going to let it slide. Good girl. We fought repeatedly over my being so obsessed about my hobbies, as well as several other increasingly problematic issues in our marriage. I eventually forced myself to change my life, which was extremely difficult, as I would later learn why. A few years later, I suffered severe burnout and walked away from gaming for a few years, and only started picking it up again recently. I had also been going to therapy at the request of my wife. That's a good girl. Mate, hold her with both arms, right? Treat her well. You know, be there for her and fuck her like crazy. Don't let that one go. If she's stuck with you for you being like a real shithead, like you have been, mate, I don't often come down on the side of the woman in these things. You all know that. You know that. Anyone who's watched these things will know. And I know there'll be the hard line of people in the comments going, oh, what a simp. Mate, no. No, grow up here. The stronger men out there are able to admit when they've done wrong. And this guy admits it. He's a strong guy, and that's a strong woman you've got there. Hold her with both hands, right? And fuck the shit out of her. Right? If you got to, fuck her into happiness. Doesn't matter. Just do what you need to do. Do whatever you need to do to, like, keep that relationship going. Unless it becomes toxic, of course, you know, then you do what you obviously leave. But, like, if she's acting like this, dude, you found a winner. You found a winner. We both knew something was becoming increasingly off about me, and it was taking a toll on my family and I. To my surprise, I would soon be diagnosed as autistic. Ah, okay. As autistic and having ADHD, which made so much sense to me as I have 2 of 3 children on the spectrum. Well, there you go, man. There you go. You know, it may seem like I wasn't letting the woman off before because she had bipolar, but bipolar is a lot more nebulous as a concept than having fucking autism is. Do you know what I mean? You know? Like, I've known friends who've been diagnosed as having, like, bipolar disorder, and I've just looked at them and gone, no, you're just a cunt. Sometimes. That's who you are. Like, there's nothing wrong with you. There's nothing wrong with you. Right? There's a bunch of people who've got issues. Yes, they have issues. No problem. No problem admitting it, and I'll help them out as much as I can. But there are some people out there, I know some, who've been diagnosed as having bipolar and similar things, and I've been like, no, mate, you're just a dick sometimes. That's just who you are. That's just who you are. Right? You might be on the spectrum somewhere, but yeah, you're not bipolar, man. You're just a dick. Right? You just flip out every now and again. Or you're genuinely just depressed from something that's going on in your life. The amount of these diagnoses that are being thrown around these days is ridiculous for shit like that. You know, I'm a firm believer in helping yourself. I'm a firm believer in helping mental health issues. And I think giving somebody an excuse, because sometimes it is, I'm sorry, when you diagnose somebody, sometimes that's all it is. It's an excuse. You're giving them an excuse for bad behaviour. No, honest help is needed. Therapy is needed. Therapy and friends are needed. And that's what's needed. Therapy, exercise, eating well, and friends. The 4 pillars. Therapy, exercise, eating well, and friends. Those are the 4 things. If you've got those 4 things in your life, I've got 3 of those 4 things in my life, right? I've just recently stopped therapy because, well, I not stopped it, but I talk to him every now and again. But, like, you know, I'm not part of his clientele anymore. I've not had that for like a year, and I've been doing really well. But, like, those are the 4 things to get yourself back on an even keel. Notice I didn't mention meds once, or any strange diagnoses of things that you're surprised that you have, right? There are some doctors out there who will prescribe you anything, or they'll tell you you've got something wrong with you when, you know, other doctors will say you don't. Just be very careful about when you get told you're bipolar or this or that. Be very, very, very careful. It's not always the case. I've got a niece who, you know, has come out as she was told she had bipolar disorder, and turns out she was on meds, on all sorts. She's not bipolar. She's not. Like, it just literally, like over the last year, it changed. The meds made it a lot worse. A lot worse. And they were going, oh, if you've got bipolar disorder, these should be helping. Like, yeah, so you just ruined a year of this fucking kid's life, have you? Well done to you. Well done to you. Yeah, the people are very cavalier to throw these labels around. And it's hurtful. It's harmful. That's why I am saying, hey, you know, autism is a different thing altogether. Autism is an actual thing that can be diagnosed, you know, and if you are diagnosed, that's serious shit. Especially if you've gone undiagnosed for a long time. That's some serious shit right there. So yeah, it's, you know, moving on. Especially if your kids are on the spectrum as well. How you didn't go and get a checkup with your behaviour, and 3 of your kids being on the spectrum. Jesus Christ, dude. It's like a big, massive sign saying, this is the issue, go and sort it out. Anyway. Not to mention, it helped explain my obsessive special interests and refusal to deviate from schedules. In no way do I use this as a get-out-of-jail-free card. Good lad. Good lad. I fully own my own mistakes and accept my role in things. That's a healthy outlook, my friend. A healthy outlook. Well done. Now, I only paint and build models as a release from the stresses of life, and I do still love the hobby. My marriage is better than it ever was, and my amazing wife supports my love of painting little plastic men. I've learned coping mechanisms that are keeping me on an even keel, so to speak, and prevent me from continuing my poor choices. Brilliant stuff, man. Brilliant stuff. Brilliant. Exactly what you should be doing. Keep your wife happy, you know. Have that compromise in there. Keep your missus happy. Have your compromise. Work through your issues. Own your mistakes. Don't blame all your mistakes on your illness. Don't do that. That's a weak shit thing to do. Own it. Say, no, I did those things. There may have been mitigating circumstances, but I did those things. I deserve to feel bad for them, and I'm the one who needs to correct them. And correct my behaviour. That's the shit to do, man. You've done exactly what you should do. Well done. You've owned it. You've gone from having very little respect in my eyes for what you were doing to your current wife and kids, to having all the respect. Well done. Like, literally. Well done. On a final note, I did run into my ex, and we talked about all that transpired years ago. I told her I had forgiven her for what she had done, and she forgave me on how I mistreated and ignored her, as we both understood that our marriage would never have lasted. We both walked away with some closure, and I'll take that as a win. Well, I've gone on long enough. Thank you for listening, and please continue the great content. Cheers, man. That's a really good ending. Thank you. That is a really good ending to the week. That's awesome. Phenomenal stuff. Well done to you for sorting your life out and getting things on an even keel. That mustn't have been easy, but it just shows people listening to this, if you've got issues going on, if you've been diagnosed with anything, you know, don't treat it as a crutch. Don't treat it as a get-out-of-jail-free card. Acknowledge it, treat it for what it is, but recognise your behaviour and your actions are your own. You are the pilot of your own soul. That's in your keeping alone. I got that from Kingdom of Heaven, but it is, right? It is. When the guy Edward Norton says when he's playing chess, when he says, you know, a king may move a man, but your soul is in your keeping alone. And I'm not a religious person, but he says this. He goes, when you stand before God up there, you can't tell him that I was ordered to do things by other people, or that, you know, honor was convenient at the time to do these things. That won't suffice. If you remove God there, if you remove the king there for your own mental health, right, it's exactly the same, right? Just because your mental health is telling you to do something and then you go and do it, that's not an excuse, dude. That's not an excuse. The minute you realise that your agency is your own, your agency is all yours, and you've got the power to turn things around, that's when you start to turn things around. Doesn't matter if you've got ADHD, doesn't matter if you've got autism, doesn't matter if you've been declared bipolar or manic depressive or whatever. It doesn't matter, dude. Doesn't matter. You have power over your own decision making. You have power over your own self. It may not seem like it sometimes. You're right? It may not seem like it. But you do. You're always going to have that devil on your shoulder You're always going to have that depression. You're always going to have that bipolarness. You're always going to have all these things that you've been diagnosed with. Okay, let's just take it as read that you do have those things. And they haven't misdiagnosed you out of sheer laziness that they tend to do these days. Let's just take it as read that you have those things. So what? So what? You're going to give up now? You're just going to accept that this is how you act sometimes? That you act like a prick sometimes? Because you've got ADHD or because you're depressed? That will not suffice. That will not suffice. You're the captain of your own soul. Okay? Those things may influence your behaviour every now and again, but each time you make that mistake, own it. Tell people what's wrong and own it. Say, listen, man, I'm really sorry I acted that way. It's because, I've got this going on. It's not an excuse, mate. It's not, I did that. That's me. That's why I'm apologising. But I've got this going on. So if you understand, but like, yeah, I shouldn't have treated you that way and I'm really sorry. It's the dickheads who say, no, I've got this wrong with me, so you need to accept my bad behaviour. No. No, I don't. I don't accept your bad behaviour. Because, listen, there's a difference between having mental health issues and being a cunt. Having mental health issues doesn't make you an arsehole. It doesn't. It doesn't automatically make you an arsehole. So don't act like one. You are the captain of your own soul. Take it from somebody who's been through it, mate. I was diagnosed as having depression. I was diagnosed as being all sorts of things. It wasn't true. It wasn't true. I just needed to sort out my own life, and now I'm there. And I'm happier now than I've ever been in my entire life. And nothing's changed. I'm in a good relationship now, but aside from that, nothing's really changed. I'm still doing the same job. I'm still doing the same things. I've just changed my outlook. Gradually, steadily, changed my outlook. I eat better. I do exercise. I keep my family close. I realise what's important. You know? That's the main thing. Alright? Alright. Love you a long time. Thank you for attending my TED Talk. And I will speak to you over the weekend. There is a Q&A coming tomorrow or Sunday. I think it's Sunday. Yeah, there is a Q&A coming on Sunday. So be mindful of that. It's going to be really, really cool. Love you all long time. Speak to you then. Have a good rest of your day. See you now. Bye.